Ellie Harper's heart thundered as the police cruiser's red and blue lights sliced through the dusk, pinning her against the grimy wall of the rest stop bathroom. She was only 17, but the cold steel of handcuffs already bit into her wrists, and the officer's sneer told her they'd already judged her guilty of something, anything. All because she dared to love Maya Torres in a town that didn't understand. The rest stop was a forgotten speck off Highway 17, a crumbling oasis of flickering neon and stale coffee in rural Ohio. Ellie had been coming here for weeks, sneaking away from her foster home to meet Maya, the girl who made her feel alive. Maya, with her soft laughter and fearless spirit, was the only one who saw past Ellie's tough exterior, the one who held her hand under the stars and whispered dreams of a future where they didn't have to hide. Tonight, though, their stolen moment was shattered when a trucker spotted them kissing behind the diner and called the cops, spitting venom about those kinds corrupting the town. "Move it, kid," barked Officer Daniels, a burly man with a buzz cut and a badge that gleamed with authority. He shoved Ellie toward the cruiser, his partner, Officer Klein, scribbling notes with a bored expression. "You're out here causing trouble, huh? Got a name?" "Ellie Harper," she muttered, her voice low but steady. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. Her eyes flicked to Maya, who stood frozen by the diner's entrance, her hands clenched into fists. Maya's dark curls caught the fading light, and Ellie's chest ached at the fear in her girlfriend's eyes. "Stay strong," she wanted to scream, but the words lodged in her throat. "You got ID?" Daniels demanded, patting her down roughly. Ellie shook her head. She'd left her wallet at the foster home, not expecting a night of stargazing to end like this. Klein snorted. "Runaway, probably. We'll sort her out at the station." Maya stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. "She's not a runaway. She lives with the Thompsons on Maple Street. Let her, gosh, didn't do anything wrong." Daniels turned, his eyes narrowing. "You her little friend? Stay out of this unless you want trouble too." Maya's jaw tightened, but she held her ground, her brown eyes blazing. Ellie's heart swelled with pride, even as fear clawed at her. Maya was 19, working at the local bookstore, saving every penny to escape this suffocating town. She didn't deserve to be dragged into this mess. The officers didn't care about explanations. They saw two girls who didn't fit their idea of normal, and that was enough. As they shoved Ellie into the cruiser, she caught Maya's gaze one last time, mouthing, "I love you." Maya's lips quivered, but she nodded, a silent promise to fight for her. At the station, the fluorescent lights buzzed like angry wasps, and the air smelled of burnt coffee and regret. Ellie sat in a holding cell, her knees pulled to her chest, replaying the night. She'd known loving Maya would come with risks, whispers at school, glares from neighbors, but she hadn't expected this. The Thompsons, her foster parents, were strict, religious types who'd already threatened to kick her out if she kept up her sinful ways. If they found out about this, she'd lose the only home she had. The door clanged open, and Daniels loomed over her. "Your foster folks are on their way. Got anything to say before they get here?" Ellie lifted her chin, defiance sparking in her green eyes. "I wasn't doing anything wrong. You had no reason to arrest me." Daniels smirked. "Public disturbance, kid. And we got a tip you're involved in some trouble. Maybe drugs, maybe worse. We'll figure it out." Her stomach dropped. Drugs? That was a lie, but she knew how this worked. Small towns like theirs thrived on gossip, and the truth didn't matter when people wanted a scapegoat. She thought of her mother, not the Thompsons, but her real mother, the one she hadn't seen in years. The one who'd left her in foster care when she was 10, promising to come back. Ellie didn't even know if she was alive, but in moments like this she ached for her. Across town, Maya was frantic. She'd raced to the bookstore where she worked, banging on the door until her boss, Mrs. Carter, let her in. "Maya, what's wrong?" the older woman asked, her gray hair pulled into a messy bun. "They took Ellie," Maya choked out, tears spilling over. "The cops, they arrested her for nothing. Just because we were together." Mrs. Carter's face softened with understanding. She'd always been kind to Maya, even when others in town whispered about her choices. "We'll fix this," she said firmly. "Do you know who to call?" "Her family." Maya hesitated. Ellie didn't talk much about her past, but she'd mentioned her mother, Auntie, a woman named Sarah Harper. Someone important, someone who'd vanished. Maya didn't have a number, but she had a name, and in a town this small, names could lead somewhere. As the night deepened, Ellie sat in the cell, her mind racing. She didn't know how this would end, but she knew one thing. She wouldn't let them break her. She'd fight for Maya, for their love, for the life they dreamed of. And somewhere, deep down, she felt a flicker of hope that her mother, wherever she was, might still care enough to save her. The station's clock ticked past midnight, each second a hammer against Ellie's resolve. She traced the cracks in the cell's concrete floor, trying to anchor herself against the rising panic. Maya was out there alone, and Ellie couldn't shake the fear that the town's cruelty would swallow them both. Outside, Maya sat in Mrs. Carter's cramped office at the bookstore, scrolling through an old phone book she'd found in a drawer. Her fingers trembled as she searched for any trace of Sarah Harper. The name felt like a lifeline, a faint hope that Ellie's mother could help. But the listings were useless. Too many Harpers, none clearly tied to Ellie. Mrs. Carter placed a mug of tea in front of her, the steam curling like a question mark. "Keep looking, Maya," she said softly. "You're doing this for her." Maya nodded, her throat tight. She thought of Ellie's crooked smile, the way her freckles seemed to glow under the rest stop's neon lights. They'd met 6 months ago at a school poetry reading. Maya, the quiet college freshman volunteering at the event, and Ellie, the foster kid who read a poem so raw it left the room silent. Their connection was instant, like a spark finding dry tinder. But in this town, love like theirs was a rebellion, and rebels paid a price. Back at the station, the Thompsons arrived, their faces etched with disapproval. Mrs. Thompson, a wiry woman with pinched lips, crossed her arms as she glared at Ellie through the cell bars. "We took you in out of Christian charity," she spat. "And this is how you repay us? Sneaking around, shaming us." Ellie's jaw clenched. "I wasn't sneaking. I was with someone I love." Mr. Thompson, a balding man with a perpetual frown, scoffed. "Love? You're too young to know what that means, and you're choosing sin. We're done with you." The words hit like a punch, but Ellie refused to flinch. She'd heard worse from them: sermons about hellfire, threats of conversion therapy. She'd stayed because she had nowhere else to go. But now, with Maya in her heart, she felt a fire they couldn't extinguish. Officer Daniels interrupted, holding a clipboard. "We're releasing her to you for now, but she's got a court date. Public disturbance, possible truancy. And we're looking into that tip about drugs." "There are no drugs," Ellie snapped, her voice echoing in the small cell. "You're making this up because you don't like who I am." Daniels raised an eyebrow but didn't respond. He handed the Thompsons a form, and they signed it reluctantly, their disgust palpable. As they let her out, Ellie's mind raced. She needed to find Maya to make sure she was safe. But the Thompsons drove her straight home, locking the front door behind them. "You're grounded until court," Mrs. Thompson said coldly. "No phone, no leaving." Ellie lay on her narrow bed, staring at the ceiling. The house felt like a cage, but her thoughts were with Maya. She remembered their first kiss, under a willow tree by the river, the world fading away until it was just them. That memory was her anchor now, keeping her from drowning in fear. Meanwhile, Maya wasn't giving up. She'd found Alita Sarah Harper listed as a former resident in a neighboring county. It wasn't much, but it was something. She called the number, her heart pounding, but it was disconnected. Desperate, she turned to social media, typing Sarah's name into every platform she could think of. Hours passed, and just as dawn broke, she found a profile. Sarah Harper, a woman in her late 30s now living in Chicago. Her bio mentioned advocacy work, and her photo showed a striking resemblance to Ellie. Same auburn hair, same fierce green eyes. Maya's fingers hovered over the message button. What if Sarah didn't care? What if she'd abandoned Ellie for a reason? But for Ellie's sake, Maya typed a message, pouring out the story of the arrest, the town's prejudice, and Ellie's courage. She hit send, praying for a miracle. In Chicago, Sarah Harper's phone buzzed on her nightstand. She was a lawyer now, a fierce advocate for marginalized communities, but her past was a wound she rarely touched. She'd left Ellie in foster care to protect her from a dangerous situation, a decision that haunted her every day. Reading Maya's message, her breath caught. Ellie was in trouble, and Sarah's heart screamed that she'd failed her daughter too long. Back in Ohio, Ellie plotted her escape. The Thompsons couldn't keep her forever. She'd find a way to Maya no matter what. But as she slipped a butter knife into her pocket to pry open her bedroom window, she heard a car pull up outside. Her heart leapt. Could it be Maya? But the knock on the door was heavy, official. Officer Daniel's voice boomed through the house, and Ellie's blood ran cold. They weren't done with her yet. Ellie pressed her ear against the bedroom door, her pulse racing as Officer Daniel's voice carried through the house. "We need to talk to the girl again," he said, his tone clipped. "Got new information." The Thompsons' murmurs were too low to catch, but their compliance was clear in the creak of the front door opening wider. Ellie's stomach twisted. New information? The drug accusation was a lie, but in a town like this, lies could stick like tar. She glanced at the window. The butter knife was a pathetic tool, but it was all she had. She wedged it into the frame, working it against the old lock. Her hands shook not from fear, but from the burning need to get to Maya. They'd promised each other a future, and no cop or foster parent was going to take that away. Downstairs, Daniels and Klein sat at the Thompsons' kitchen table, a manila folder between them. "We got a tip from a local," Daniels said, his eyes cold. "Says Ellie's been seen with some unsavory types. Might be dealing." Mrs. Thompson gasped, her hand flying to her chest, as if Ellie's supposed crimes were a personal betrayal. Mr. Thompson just nodded, his face grim. "It's nonsense," Ellie muttered to herself, finally popping the window open. The cool morning air hit her face and she climbed out, dropping silently onto the grass. She had to find Maya before the cops dragged her back into that cell. She sprinted toward the bookstore, her sneakers pounding the pavement, her breath ragged but determined. At the bookstore, Maya was still glued to her phone, waiting for a response from Sarah Harper. Mrs. Carter had gone home, leaving Maya alone with her thoughts and a pot of cold coffee. The message to Sarah was a long shot, but it was all she had. She couldn't bear the thought of Ellie facing the town's wrath alone. Maya's own parents had accepted her identity grudgingly, but they'd warned her to keep it quiet. "People here don't understand," her mother had said. Maya hadn't cared then, but now with Ellie in trouble, the weight of those words crushed her. Her phone buzzed and Maya's heart leapt. A reply from Sarah. "I'm on my way. Tell me everything." Maya's fingers flew across the screen, detailing the arrest, the Thompsons' cruelty, and the town's prejudice. She was mid-sentence when the bell above the bookstore door jingled. She looked up, expecting Mrs. Carter, but it was Ellie, pale, breathless, her leather jacket askew. "Ellie!" Maya rushed to her, pulling her into a fierce hug. "How did you?" "Window," Ellie said, her voice hoarse but her eyes bright with relief. "They're coming for me again, Maya. They're saying I'm dealing drugs. It's a setup." Maya's blood boiled. Who would do this? But she knew the answer. This town thrived on tearing down anyone who didn't conform. She grabbed Ellie's hand, pulling her toward the back room. "We need to hide you until we figure this out." Ellie shook her head. "I'm not hiding. I'm done running from them." Her voice cracked, but her resolve was iron. "I just needed to see you. To know you're okay." Maya cupped Ellie's face, her thumbs brushing away a stray tear. "I'm okay because you're here. And I found her, Ellie, your mom. She's coming." Ellie froze, her green eyes wide. "My mom? Sarah." The name felt foreign, like a half-forgotten dream. "She doesn't even know me anymore." "She will," Maya said fiercely. "She's a lawyer, Ellie. She can help." Before Ellie could respond, headlights swept across the bookstore windows. A police cruiser pulled up, its lights off but its presence ominous. Maya's heart sank. "They found you." Ellie squared her shoulders. "Let them come. I'm not ashamed of who I am or who I love." The door burst open and Daniels stormed in, Klein trailing behind. "Ellie Harper, you're under arrest for violating release conditions and suspicion of drug trafficking." His voice was smug, as if he'd already won. Maya stepped in front of Ellie. "You can't do this. You have no proof." Klein smirked. "We'll find proof. Step aside, miss." But Ellie gently pushed Maya back, her eyes locked on Daniels. "You're wrong about me. And you're going to regret this." As the cuffs clicked around her wrists again, Ellie held Maya's gaze, drawing strength from her. She didn't know if Sarah would come, or if the town would ever accept them. But she knew Maya's love was worth fighting for, and that was enough to keep her standing. In Chicago, Sarah Harper was already in her car, speeding toward Ohio. Her hands gripped the wheel, her mind racing with guilt and determination. She'd left Ellie to protect her from a past too dangerous to share, but now her daughter needed her. Sarah didn't know what she'd find in that small town, but she'd tear it apart if it meant saving her girl. The cruiser's back seat smelled of leather and despair as Ellie stared out the window, the town blurring past in streaks of gray and green. Her wrists ached from the cuffs, but her heart hurt worse, replaying Maya's desperate expression as the cops pulled her away. She clung to the hope of Sarah's arrival, but doubt gnawed at her. Would her mother even recognize her after 7 years? At the station, Daniels and Klein were relentless. They sat her in an interrogation room, a single bulb casting harsh shadows across the table. Daniels slid a photo toward her, a blurry image of two figures exchanging something in an alley. "That's you, isn't it?" he said, his voice dripping with accusation. "Dealing at the rest stop." Ellie squinted at the photo. The figures were too vague to identify, but the implication was clear. "That's not me," she said, her voice steady despite the fear coiling in her gut. "You know it's not." Klein leaned forward, his breath sour. "Then why'd we get a tip naming you?" "Someone saw you, Ellie. You and your little girlfriend, stirring up trouble." Ellie's fists clenched under the table. "Her name is Maya. And we weren't stirring up anything. We were just existing." Daniels laughed, a cold barking sound. "Existing, huh? This town doesn't take kindly to your kind of existing. You're making it easy for us to pin this on you." The door swung open, interrupting them. A woman in a sharp blazer stood there, her auburn hair pulled back, her green eyes blazing with a fury Ellie recognized instantly. Sarah Harper. Ellie's breath caught, a mix of hope and disbelief flooding her. "Who are you?" Daniels demanded, standing. "Sarah Harper," she said, her voice like steel. "Ellie's mother. And a lawyer with the ACLU. You're holding my daughter without evidence, and I want her released. Now." The room went silent. Klein shifted uncomfortably, but Daniels scoffed. "We've got a tip. Drug trafficking. She's not going anywhere." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Show me the evidence. Not a blurry photo or some anonymous tip, real evidence. Because I'm prepared to file a federal complaint for unlawful detention and discrimination." Ellie's heart pounded. She hadn't seen her mother since she was 10, but Sarah's presence filled the room with authority. She looked at Ellie, her expression softening for a split second, and Ellie saw the guilt and love in her eyes. It was enough to make her believe just for a moment that she wasn't alone. Sarah didn't wait for a response. She pulled out her phone, already dialing. "I'm calling my team. You've got 10 minutes to release her, or this becomes a national story." Daniel's face reddened, but he didn't back down. "You think you can waltz in here and threaten us? This is our town. And this is my daughter," Sarah shot back. "You have no idea what you've stepped into." Outside, Maya paced the station's parking lot, clutching her phone. Sarah had texted her an hour ago saying she was close. Maya had told her everything: the arrest, the false accusations, the town's hatred. Now she waited, her heart torn between hope and dread. She'd seen the way people looked at her and Ellie, the way they whispered sin and shame. But she also knew Ellie's strength, the way her love burned brighter than their hate. Inside, Sarah's presence shifted the tide. The officers scrambled, pulling files and muttering about procedure. Ellie watched, her mind reeling. Her mother was here, actually here, fighting for her. But years of abandonment lingered, a wound that hadn't healed. Why now? Why not before? Sarah seemed to sense her questions. When the officer stepped out to review the case, she knelt beside Ellie, her voice low. "I'm so sorry, Ellie. I left to keep you safe, but I should have come back sooner. I'm here now, and I'm not leaving you again." Ellie's throat tightened. "Why didn't you?" she whispered. "I needed you." Sarah's eyes glistened. "I was running from someone dangerous, someone who hurt us both. I thought foster care would protect you. I was wrong." She reached for Ellie's hand, and though Ellie hesitated, she let her take it. The officers returned, their faces grim. "We're releasing her," Daniels muttered. "But the drug investigation's ongoing." Sarah stood, her voice icy. "It's over when I say it's over. And I'm taking this to court." As they walked out, Ellie's legs felt unsteady, But Sarah's arm around her was a lifeline. In the parking lot, Maya ran to her, tears streaming down her face. "Ellie!" They collided in a hug, clinging to each other as if the world might tear them apart again. Sarah watched, her expression unreadable. Then she spoke. "You must be Maya. Thank you for fighting for my daughter." Maya nodded, wiping her eyes. "I love her." Sarah smiled, a flicker of pride in her eyes. "I can see that." But the fight wasn't over. The town's prejudice still loomed, and the drug accusations hung like a storm cloud. Ellie knew they'd have to face it all together. The next morning, Ellie woke in a motel room, the first real bed she'd slept in since the arrest. Sarah had insisted on getting her out of the Thompsons' house, and Maya had stayed by her side, her hand a steady anchor in Ellie's. The three of them sat at a small table now, sunlight streaming through the window, as Sarah outlined their plan. "The charges won't stick," Sarah said, her lawyer's confidence unwavering. "The tip was anonymous, and that photo is inadmissible. But we're not just fighting the charges, we're fighting this town's bigotry." Ellie glanced at Maya, whose eyes shone with determination. "What do we do?" Ellie asked, her voice stronger than it had been in days. "We go public," Sarah said. "I've got contacts at national news outlets. We tell your story to young women targeted for their love. We expose the corruption here, the way they tried to frame you." Maya hesitated. "Won't that make things worse? This town already hates us." Sarah leaned forward, her gaze intense. "It might, but silence lets them win. You're stronger than their hate, both of you." Ellie squeezed Maya's hand. "She's right. I'm tired of hiding who I am." Maya nodded, a slow smile breaking through her fear. "Okay, let's do it." Over the next week, Sarah worked tirelessly, pulling strings and making calls. A journalist from a major outlet arrived, interviewing Ellie and Maya in the motel's cramped lobby. Ellie spoke of their love, the rest stop where they'd found solace, the arrest that tried to break them. Maya's voice trembled as she described the town's cruelty, but her hand never left Ellie's. The story broke online, then on TV. Headlines screamed, "Ohio town targets lesbian teens in bogus drug bust." Protests formed outside the police station, with activists chanting for justice. The Thompsons disowned Ellie publicly, but Sarah was there, shielding her daughter from the fallout. Ellie moved into Sarah's Chicago apartment, and Maya joined her, enrolling in community college nearby. The drug accusations collapsed under scrutiny, and Daniels and Klein faced an internal investigation. The town's mayor issued a half-hearted apology, but Ellie and Maya didn't care. They'd won something bigger, their freedom to love without fear. One evening, as snow dusted Chicago's streets, Ellie and Maya stood on a rooftop, wrapped in blankets. The city sparkled below, a world away from the rest stop's neon glow. Ellie turned to Maya, her heart full. "We made it," she whispered. Maya kissed her, soft and sure. "We did. And we'll keep fighting together." Sarah watched from the doorway, her heart swelling. She'd lost years with her daughter, but she'd spend the rest of her life making it right. Ellie and Maya's love was a beacon, proof that even in the darkest places, light could break through. Their story didn't end the town's prejudice, but it sparked a change. Young people in Ohio started speaking out, forming support groups challenging the old ways. Ellie and Maya became symbols of resilience, their love a testament to the power of standing tall. And as they built their life together, they knew one truth above all: no one could arrest their hearts. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.